Hello and welcome to another episode of the Horror of Netflix. Sorry, I nearly hit you in the face. This week we will be looking at the movie Hellraiser, which was
Raising Hell.
Yeah, Raising Hell. Which Hellraiser was, of course, the original title for the Marlon Brando film Rebel Without a Cause.
Yeah, we're not allowed to use the word hell in the title. Is that?
Not back in those days.
No. Hellraiser.
That's it. The devil cast him out. It's fucking great.
Very good
Clive
film.
Barker.
Yeah.
Clive Barker back then. Yes, Clive Barker back now.
Back now.
Back now.
Up now. Forward
like
now.
kind of like in a Back to the Future sense. Hellraiser's shit hot.
Yeah, I really like Hellraiser. How are you gonna describe Hellraiser?
Now, one thing I would like to mention is the fact that it appears to be on American Netflix, like the entire series of Hellraiser. The second one,
certainly the first two are on American Netflix.
The other ones are there as well. So the second one is worth watching. The other ones tend to go off on a wee tangent.
I've only seen as far as 3, and that the quality kind of takes a bit of a plunge.
Eventually, Clive Barker just dissociates himself.
I think he was like an associate producer or something for number 4, and that was the last time he involved himself. Now, Pinhead, like the Hellraiser films are kind of weird because Pinhead and the Cenobites often get lumped in with slashers and like Mike Myers and Freddy and
they're
Jason
much more
and them, but
conceptual.
they're a completely different kettle of fish.
Transcends the kind of common tropes.
Yeah, I think because it's a kind of like an instantly recognisable face in a similar way to the iconic horror masks that they get lumped in with them. But I think they're very much a different animal.
Anyway,
a different night.
The movie is essentially about a kind of twisted pervert who is kind of looking for new layers and levels of pleasure. And it finds this kind of puzzle box in some kind of, I guess it's Middle Eastern type environment.
Far Eastern, it's a Chinese kind of...
it's kind of, I think it's slightly ambiguous. Yeah. But, you get the idea that it's kind of like the far
Does the guy not look like Fu Manchu and have the big long moustache and all that kind of stuff?
Jack Burton!
Yeah, it's a little bit racist.
Yeah, I kind of wish it actually had been a link to Big Trouble in Little China there. If there was a chance it was David Lopan, that would be brilliant. Indeed!
Big Trouble in Soho.
But essentially he finds this puzzle box which he ultimately ends up solving, and then is
instead of shoving it up his ass, which you'd expect from a pervert.
It's a cube though. It's quite. Well, don't go down that road, man.
Well, he is looking for new levels of.
But not that much. You've got a splinter before he gets into it. I think it's made of wood.
Don't ask me about people.
Actually, you can watch. It's the
is
fourth
it metal?
one.
Is it made out of metal? I think.
It's like gold foil or something. In the fourth movie, they get like a toy maker to make it. No, to actually make the original. Really? It's called the Lament configuration. Yeah, okay. It's either the fourth or the fifth, and then ultimately, like his great ancestor, who looks identical to him, essentially builds one in space, and then he traps Pinhead in space and then fucking kills him in space.
Not shooting with lasers.
It's like
they get pretty bad after.
It fucking gets
really,
right
really
out of the box. No pun intended. Anyway, this thing called the Lament configuration, which is a puzzle box, gets solved, and these creatures, kind of beings called the Cenobites, come, who kind of on the offset appear to be kind of like servants of hell, but ultimately they almost like transcend hell. It's almost like literally like our concept of hell is so limited to them that they kind of find it offensive.
They're not even really evil. They're kind of forced to be reckoned with, but they're not necessarily just out to kill people. They describe themselves as sort of what travelers in the sensory realms and all that. So they explore the realms of pleasure and pain and sensory sort of.
They've got an agenda,
but they will do that. They will do that at great cost to others. Yeah, but they're not necessarily just out to harm people.
They're not mindless.
They can be reasoned with. They're intelligent beings, and they in a sense in the first film the first couple of films are not even really the villains. No, and they're fallible as well.
They can be cheated and various other things. But essentially what happens is he uses this Lament configuration in his kind of family home, and basically shit goes really bad, and he kind of ends up almost like possessing the house, like his soul's kind of trapped in the building.
He's trapped inside the Lament configuration, really, isn't he? But then he's reborn because his wife, in a kind of Macbeth-esque twist,
Yes.
Without spoiling too much, because this is really the setup for the film. This is not the actual play out of the film. She murders, and the blood that she spills goes
Actually,
towards
the first time it's when the guy cuts his hand.
That's right, yeah. But
basically,
the
his
idea
brother
she kills people.
This guy Frank, and this guy Frank is the one that did the box, right? And then his brother comes with his wife and daughter, and basically goes, "This is good." You can tell that they've immediately got marriage problems, and it ultimately transcends that she had some kind of relationship with Frank, and it all develops from there. And the main character ultimately ends up being the character Frank's niece.
Yeah, so but basically
Kirsty,
the point I'm trying to make is that ultimately Frank and the woman, what's her name again?
Let's call her mother.
The Lady Hamlet figure, Lady Macbeth.
Lady
I keep
Macbeth.
getting Hamlet. I've got a fucking degree in English and I get Hamlet and Macbeth mixed up. They're really the true villains of the film. People portray the Cenobites, Pinhead, and the others as the bad guys, but they're more like kind of just gatekeepers. They're people that they're a force that has to be dealt with by the heroes as they go about their conflict with the
they don't
real
just
villain
come
of the film,
and
which is Frank.
start attacking people. Like the only way they can come is by solving this puzzle of the lament. So you have to physically summon them to do it. At which point the price of doing that is basically
that you could potentially be taken by them into
their bum dungeon, and just
be
flayed and
bummed
fucking
and
everything.
chained and.
But the first movie is really enjoyable as a horror movie. It's got great story, tension, pacing, but visually it's fucking fantastic as well. Except for some really bad optical effects at the end. Do you know the bit I'm talking about?
Not really. Actually.
Right, there's a character in Game of Thrones,
I know
right? That's got these dragons.
Okay.
Right, and then at the end of this movie,
well, there's a
dragon that comes out.
There's a monster. I wouldn't have said dragon.
It's a dragon.
It's a kind of penis monster, is it not?
No, it's a dragon.
A dragon?
Yeah.
You sure?
Watch it at the end of it. She fucking has the box and it turns into
a dragon. Right. It's the homeless guy. It's not really a dragon. It's more like a.
It's a dragon. It's like Fu Manchu, the dragon.
I think technically dragons have 4 legs, and this thing is 2, which makes it a
semantics.
Wyvern.
Pedantry.
It's a wyvern.
Yeah. And it ultimately. So we can't. We do too many spoilers.
It looks like. Do you know what it looks like? Have you seen the Golden Child?
No.
You've never seen the Golden Child with Eddie Murphy?
No.
Have you? And you like? See if you like Big Trouble in Little China. Big Trouble in Little China.
Right.
It feels like Big Trouble in Little China sequel, but there's a dragon in it that's almost identical to it.
So Eddie Murphy movies, Golden Child.
Yeah.
Pluto Nash.
Yeah.
There's that.
Yeah. Golden Child's well above Pluto Nash.
Right.
And
Pluto
Nash
Norbit.
is the bottom. Norbit's in between.
It's in between.
And then Eddie Murphy.
So
Raw
Golden Child come to America.
Oh, I'd say it's neck and neck with Golden Child. Yeah.
There you go, guys.
Yeah.
So I mean, you came for Hellraiser, you stayed for Eddie Murphy. Shrek, there's a curveball. But yeah, ultimately, I would say the first 2, and the second one is a continuation of the first. The movies subsequent to that just seem to be like retreads of the original.
The first two actually bring in the same characters and return the same actors. Almost everyone is back. Whereas from the third film onwards, I think it's really only the Cenobites that reappear. But the Cenobite, the makeup effects are fantastic in it.
And they're all really interesting.
Are amazingly designed, amazingly conceived. They're terrifying, I think, because they're not just purely evil. They're terrifying because, well, in one sense we can kind of understand their motives, but in another way we can't. We don't know why they would want to torture people or be tortured the way they are, but they are reasonable beings, which makes it more frightening because there's that whole thing like a zombie.
They're fully aware of what they're doing, and they'll convey it to you what they're doing. Whereas like,
they even have a sort of twisted sense of morality. They can be reasoned to do the right thing sometimes as well, which makes it even more horrific when they do the things that they do. It's
like a perverted justice, really. I mean,
they're almost the way although they are portrayed as villains in the first couple of films. The way they are manipulated, maybe, or the way they're reasoned with, they turn out to be almost a force for good. In the
particularly in the second movie.
which makes the third film even more kind of unpalatable, because they basically turn them into just straight slasher kind of villains. They're just going about murdering
killing
people
for the sake of it. The second one's actually got some flashes of greatness with potential excellence, but it's really let down by the finale, which could have been excellent.
Is that the finale not good? The big kind of like tentacle thing with the guy hanging off the end of it?
Yeah, but it's like the final point. Yeah, but it's not. It's a big cop out.
Was it? I don't really remember how it ended. It's a long time since.
Pretend you've seen it.
Yeah.
So watch the first and second one. I believe the second one is on Netflix US again. Like I said, strangely not on Netflix UK, but there's some of the other ones like fucking Inferno and Hellbound, like Hellraiser 14.
What I would say is that later Hellraiser films, a lot of them didn't start out life as Hellraiser films. Some of them just started out as unconnected horror films that the company that owns the rights to Hellraiser got hold of, and it sort of injected Pinhead. And latterly, I think even
the Thunderbirds crossover is really weird.
Doug Bradley, who plays Pinhead, and most of them no longer plays Pinhead anymore, I don't think.
Well, they're supposed to be making a remake of it.
They've been saying that for years,
and he's supposed to come back, which they could potentially do because of the makeup, but there's a limit to what you can do in the makeup. I think, they're only going to be able to cover up so many...
They were able to do it
because he's got quite a slim profile, and I think it worked.
Yeah. They were able to do it with Robert Englund for a long, long time.
But they really disfigure him.
Yeah.
Pinhead's still quite flush.
Yeah.
Makeup effect wise.
I guess if they're remaking it, it can change his look.
It would just be CGI. It would just be a fucking stick on set.
There was one piece of concept art I saw for a Hellraiser remake, which looked terrible. They basically had taken him and turned him into like a mental patient. I think he had like a straitjacket on,
right?
And it was like the pins had been the what's so kind of one of the things that's really eerie about them is that everything about them so immaculate. The lines and everything on his skin, they're so perfectly placed. They're
perfect
just like rammed
symmetry,
all over the place. In this one, they're just like big fuck off nails, just all over his face, and like claw marks and stuff, and it just looks like someone's
kind of an unfortunate accident in a hardware shop.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's had it, like someone's like smacked him in the smacked him in the face with like a nuts and bolt pizza. It didn't look anything like
a nuts and bolts pizza.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a good point to round it up.
Well,
there.
No, I think
Domino's. I don't know. I think we might be going over the limit of what we can talk about. If you've got more to say it.
Well, I don't feel we've discussed Hellraiser the first film enough. I think we've talked a lot about the sequels.
Right. They know there's a dragon in it, which is debatable apparently.
Yeah. But whatever happened to that? The homeless guy in the first film who figures quite. The guy with the ants and the...
Well, is he not meant to be the guy that originally gives away the lament configuration? Is he not some kind of minder of it?
Yeah, he's like a spirit or something that follows it around, I think, as a kind of...
And then he turns into a fucking dragon?
Yeah, he's supposed to be like some kind of, I don't know, I guess minder is a good way of describing it, something that, like a...
Gatekeeper?
Yeah,
because he's got the lament configuration.
He kind of guards it. It's almost like he guards it. He guards it in our world, and then on the inside there's the Cenobites. But he never reappears in any of the sequels, as far as I know.
No, I think he's kind of like a plot device in the original one, and he seems to kind of.
I'd like to have seen more of him though. It's
good, but very very dark at points, and it's very gothic in terms of the setup.
But it's a very nicely shot film. It's very precise. The lighting and everything is very clinical.
Some great effects,
which I think the
decomposing stuff or rather recomposing.
Yeah, it's really weird because there's a scene where, like, as I say, when the woman, I keep forgetting her name, when she kills to spill blood to raise Frank from the dead, as the blood seeps through the floorboards, we're treated to literally like out of the dirt, pretty much, like the skin and lungs like starting to inflate, just like little gossamer thin sort of like bags, like gradually growing and recomposing, and like muscles knitting back together, and it's amazing what they were able to do before CGI or any of that, just with the practical effects and even the makeup.
It works so much better because it's practical. It's very tangible.
Yeah.
And there's some of them that kind of like you're almost convinced are actual real organs and stuff. I don't think it would work as CGI
because I think computer models and stuff are really well suited to non-organic things, but for blood and organs and it's very easy to spot fake like not computer generated wet things.
It feels like the kind of
things
thing
that are tangible and nasty.
It almost felt like the
Doesn't really
level
work
of
for us.
like when you go to like a science musical.
What the fuck is a science
It's a musical museum. When you go to a science museum and you see like the kind of like cadavers that they've got preserved, and they'll show you like, you know, you can pump air through it and you'll see the regulators. It was at that level of, you know, it was proper, almost like medical grade. And it's pretty unsettling.
I think that what's kind of come to like a lot of the set design and a lot of, you know, the hell, the design of the I don't even want to call it hell, the kind of the dimension, the other sensory dimension that they entered, the bum dungeon. One of the lights.
See, that's a prime example of the fact that we're talking too long. Hang on. Keep talking.
Well, yeah, the design of it is not like your typical kind of cavernous, creepy. It needs to go over here. Let's see, I'll hold it there. Right, it's not your typical cavernous, creepy, you know, Judeo-Christian hell. It's clinical and clean, and I think that fits with what you were saying about it being very medical almost, and it's creepy in the way that's so precise and so.
This has got very atmospheric.
Yeah.
This is Calum and Martin reporting from Ghastly Tales. Go and watch Hellraiser. Pay the money to Netflix or watch it illegally. We don't care. We didn't make it. Bye.
Enjoy.